thing is behaving. Because like I say, I don't have my little helper watching our stream and what have you. It says I'm live on YouTube.
That's
You
good.
see that, Jane?
That's what we need.
There we go. Sue
Very
Langford
good.
says, oh, am I first? Good morning. Yes, you are. Well done. First comment by the look of it. It's the first one I can see anyway. And Claire, good morning to you as well. Jane, we were going to do this last Wednesday.
We were.
We moved it to today.
Yes.
Combination of funeral and the fact you dropped your phone down the loo and lost all the images.
Yeah, it
So
didn't
so much
help.
fun.
No,
Awful.
it didn't help. It was a really silly thing to do. And the knock-on effect has been, I can't tell you what it's been. It's been awful.
We've all done it. We've all done things like this, so it's fine.
You wouldn't think it, would
With a
you?
capital F.
Yeah, it's fine.
With a snarly face and a capital F.
Yeah.
It is the calendar quilt. We started this, I want to
This
say,
time last year, it came up
yeah.
on my memory.
November, ready doing the January block.
Yes.
So we've always worked 2 months ahead, haven't we?
Yes.
So last month we did December's block. So you should be, hopefully, working your way through that one for display in
Yeah.
December. But today is about those people who want to make the kit into a quilt, isn't
Yes, because we've done it two ways. We've done each block individually, so you could have it like a perpetual calendar,
Yeah.
so you can hang it just the month block.
Yeah.
And then we've put it all together into a quilt. So I'm going to talk to you today about finishing a quilt, really. It doesn't have to be this one, it can be any, really,
Okay.
if you've got a block and we can put it together.
Great stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the quilt kit, like you say, was enough each month to make
Yes,
both.
yes.
So you might have made your perpetual calendar and then be making your quilt or been stacking your blocks up. And the instructions have said every month not to cut your blocks to size or do anything with them if you're putting them in the quilt.
Yeah.
Just leave them in a little stack
Yes,
because the instructions will tell you what you're doing with that.
that's right, yeah.
And all the measurements and everything is on today's instructions. Now, the printed version is online already. The digital, I just need to add a couple of images to, don't I? Which
Yes.
we'll get those on.
We'll get those on this afternoon.
Printer's been having a strop as well this morning, so we need to just get those images in and get it printed and have a look.
Yes.
It's behaving now. Touch wood. So we'll get that checked up.
It's Monday. We don't
I
ever...
know, we
sort
don't
of-
take anything
no,
for granted.
No,
do we?
not on a Monday.
So we're hopeful that we'll get those live later today, which would be grand. In the meantime, I've got a couple of offers to mention, which I think are really relevant for today's make.
Lovely.
Today's finishing. Because, Jane, you're going to need to wad this
Yes.
once you've pieced it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your kit today is just for your borders, sashing and binding, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's right,
So
yes.
creating a quilt top.
Yeah.
But you're going to need wadding
Yes,
and you're going to need backing fabric as well.
that's right, yeah.
So we've got, things afoot.
Have you done some shenanigans with the
Well,
wadding, have you,
The
Gemma?
wadding I have. So your favourite,
Yes,
eternally,
80-20, yeah.
is the 80-20, the Bleaselina 279. It's an 80% cotton, 20% polyester blend, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's your hands
Yeah,
down
it's just
favourite wadding.
I think it's a really versatile wadding. It's nice because you've got the cotton, so you've got the drape and the softness of it. But because it's got that bit of polyester in, it's got less chance of shrinking. That's not to say it won't shrink, because I think it gives you 5%, doesn't it, shrinkage on
Yeah.
the label. I always treat my quilts like a wool blanket anyway, so a cool, gentle wash, and you might get little bit of crinkling. But I quite like that. It gives it sort of a vintagey feel.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's my favourite.
It's a beautiful quality wadding, and it's nice and warm, but at the same time, it's not too lofty. It's
No.
easy to sew through. It's
Yeah,
lovely
it's
to
a
work
nice one
with.
to work with. Yeah, absolutely.
So I today put £1.5 metre off that, so it's £2 a metre off that one. I know.
That's
But it's
amazing.
Black
That is
Friday week, so
it's
why
a
not?
bargain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also because it's Black Friday week, a week ago I think it was, Natasha did a show where she'd bought some pre-cut pieces from one of our suppliers, 2 metre lengths, and they were coming to you for less than a metre of what we'd normally charge for our designer fabrics.
Nice.
So a lot of our designer fabrics go out around the £7.95 to £8 mark, so you're looking at sort of £31.80 for a 2 metre piece. We've been putting these pieces out at £14.99. Now, we watched on that show as they disappeared.
Yes, I can imagine.
So she contacted
Bargain.
the supplier and said, have you got any more 2 metre lengths? And they sent us a stash, Jane. It's all Adidas sitar of
It's
Laundry
all
Basket Quilt.
gorgeous. I'm like,
Beautiful quality Adidas sitar. We love Adidas
I keep looking
sitar.
at it and going, I need some of that.
Yeah. I think I'll quickly check what everyone's saying, make sure everyone's okay and say good morning.
Yeah.
And then we'll get those overhead cam and have a good look through and see
Yeah,
what's
nice
available,
little-
Jane. Bear in mind these are on the website now. They're selling already. So if you want to have a sneaky peek while I read the messages, don't be getting upset if they've already gone when we're showing.
Yes.
Because they might.
And don't forget they're not yours till you check out.
No, this is true. If they're
But
in
we
your
will
basket-
combine your orders. So
Correct.
you know, just put a note on your order to say please combine, and we'll do that for you
We will.
refund any postage if it's what's the word? I was going to say plausible, but that's not because it is plausible. I can do with that.
On the same day,
Yes.
before midnight,
Yeah.
all of that.
If it's relevant.
And what happens is, you know, at midnight, everything resets, so we have to pack within a day. So it's,
Yeah.
have to have everything all within a day's set. Jane, good morning to you. Not you, Jane, another Jane.
Oh, hi, Jane.
And Joy, good morning to you as well. And Danny, Karen's with us. Karen Hughes, good morning, Karen. Just good morning, girls. We do like to be called girls.
Very nice. Thank you, Karen.
Sylv Barclay's with us. She says, morning, lovely girlies. I love Jane's silk shirt.
Thank
She
you.
looks
It's not
lovely.
silk, actually. It's cotton, but it's
It's got a sheen.
Yes.
It looks nice.
nice. It's my
Beautiful.
holiday shirt, really.
Is it?
Yeah, because you can wear it like this, or you can have it open like a jacket, like in the evenings. It's nice. Yeah.
Good. I always love them when they've got little turny up bits. and
Yes,
buttons as
because you
well.
can have them down.
Yeah, exactly. Your mum's with us as well. She says, good morning, girls. Morning, Kate.
Morning.
And Joe Standage as well. Good morning to you too. And Auntie Lizzie's on YouTube this morning. Auntie Lizzie, what are you doing over there? I mean, I'm very happy with that.
Yes.
YouTube is our most stable stream.
Yes.
We always say this.
Most reliable, yes.
It is our most stable and reliable stream. However, she's not normally there.
No.
I don't know why, but that's good. That's fine. She's here, so good morning to you as well. Jane, I'm going to go into overhead and we'll have a look at these beautiful pieces of fabric.
Yeah. Let's move the blocks
These are
out of the
all
way.
2 metre length. So today's
Can you
quilt,
manage?
Jane, you'd need more than 2 metres, wouldn't you, Jane, to back today's quilt?
Yes, you're going to need 3 metres of standard width fabric.
Yeah.
Because you'll need to chop it in half
Yeah.
and sew it together to make it bigger.
But there might be that people see these and go, oh, I love 2 of those, and you could piece then, couldn't you? You've
Yeah.
done it before, where you put a central panel down of one print,
Yes.
and then the other fabrics either side.
Yes, because
you know.
I always say when you're joining your fabrics, don't have the seam in the middle of your
No.
quilt, either horizontally or vertically, because you tend to fold your quilt down the middle, and that seam is a weak spot. So over time, folding it continually on the seam will weaken the thread and it might come undone. So I always say put your seam 2/3 or so up
Yeah.
or to the side. And like Gemma says, having a panel of fabric and having 2 pieces either side makes it look quite nice.
Okay.
Look at this, this is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I do love Adita Sitar fabric, I have to say. I love her. She's quite a traditional
Yeah.
designer, isn't she? And she comes up with some beautiful fabrics and quite often based on vintage prints.
So what I love about them though, Jane, is they're timeless.
Yes, absolutely.
Really lovely.
Love the
The
colours.
yeah. There we go. We quite often agree, Jane and I. We
Yes,
quite often
we've got
choose
similar
the same
tapes, yeah.
things.
So we've just labelled these as from A through. So this is piece A and it's a pretty floral on a nice chocolatey background.
Beautiful.
And then this is a beautiful like grasses on green. There's yellows and sagey green in there. That's really pretty. That's
the
big.
rustic branch pattern. Now this would look great with the spot that comes after.
Yes,
so you
look
can
at that.
see.
You put those 2 together.
Yeah.
Well, this is a whole collection, I think. I think you'll find that these all blend beautifully because look at this stripe on here. That's so pretty and
Fabulous.
delicate. That's
These
gorgeous.
are great pieces to have in your stash because they will go with so much.
Yeah. This is lovely, a little floral. Well, it's a medium scale floral and it's got sort of a stripe going through it. So an overall effect, you would see the stripe going diagonally as well as going straight down, if you can see that on there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move that
Yeah,
up a
you
little bit.
can. Jane, if someone's shopping with us for the first time today, it's important they know where to find the product. So if you go
Yes.
to natashamakes.com, you can click on the Watch Live page and click View All on the products, or click the Make It Monday banner. And again, shop Make It Monday and click View All products.
This piece F, this is lovely, and this, it looks like from this overhead picture like it's a dot, but can we go close up because it's
Yeah, of
actually a
course.
stripy, and it reminds me a little bit of the Matrix.
Oh, does it? Oh,
Yeah,
do you know
but-
what? This one's gone. I
Has
am
it?
going to go close up just so that people can see.
But this is
If
a
you
beautiful.
bought it, oh, back a bit, Jane. If you bought it, then
Where are we?
there we go. Down a bit.
Can
Lovely.
you see how it's got like a little dotty stripe with a square,
Nice.
and some of the squares have got a little stripe of like a gold colour going through them. That's really pretty.
Yep.
But if it's gone, it's gone,
So
isn't
if you
it?
got that one, well done you, because Jane likes that one.
It's lovely. There's another floral there. That's lovely on a lovely deep red crimson colour with the flowers.
See, again, like you say, they just blend so nicely.
Yeah, they
These
do.
would look great together.
That green, you see that yellowy green is in here as well.
And then this as well. You've
Yeah.
got all these red tones are the same.
It's
Fabulous.
beautiful.
They remind me a little bit of French General, you know.
Yes. Stripe. We all love the stripe. I love a stripy
Beautiful.
binding. And this has got a little zigzaggy square pattern within the stripe.
It's gone, Jane.
Gone.
Piece H is gone. Piece
There's that-
I. That is the same, but different.
A cream
one you want.
version of the one that I says looks like the Matrix.
Beautiful.
Spots. Who doesn't love a spot?
I adore a spot.
I love these, and I saw the spots, and I was like, "Do I need these? Do I really need these?" Yes, I do. Look at that. This is a beautiful cream tone on tone. Hi, Mabes. Floral. It's like a lovely soft linen-y colour with a grey outline of like roses and chrysanthemum style patterns and leaves. L is a beautiful one, and again, this is like this creamy linen colour, and these are like a taupe grey and a bluey grey, and they're vines like brambles, leaves and flowers. Beautiful that is. With the stripe, and that's in those grey tones. It's like a bluey grey with a taupe running through it
These
on
go
like
with
a
anything.
linen colour background.
I've got a feeling they'd look lovely with our misty blue. Actually, a lot of the tildes as well. Those really nice muted
yeah.
tones would look good with these.
Another lovely spot here, and this spot has got a lovely pale blue, occasional. Well, it's like a stripe of blue, and then the cream on like a sagey taupe.
I really
background.
want this one. The
I know,
next
that's
one,
gorgeous.
Jane,
I love this.
gone.
Doesn't surprise
I
me.
know.
That's a versatile fabric, that
Stunning.
is. This is my favourite.
Yes, it didn't have a photo on this one.
It's got
almost
like a
like-
goldy taupe colour,
Yeah.
just ever so often, and then a cream, and then this lovely tealy blue.
Kind of an Air Forcey blue.
Yeah,
It's
it's
lovely.
gorgeous.
This one's gone, Jane.
And look at that,
Piece
with
cute.
that. Beautiful.
Stunning. Well done you. If you got that one, it's gorgeous.
I love this as well. This is like little squares that run diagonally through,
Beautiful little blocks.
and there's a little bit of orange, flash of orange in there, which is rather lovely. That's pretty as well. Look at that. That's like grasses, and that's a lovely creamy colour with like a deeper blue, and then this lovely soft. That's almost like an Air Force blue, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really.
lovely.
And then I think we've had this one as
gone.
well, and that lovely
Yeah.
stripe with the pea pod vines.
We had a piece of that and it went and it's gone again. So
It's
if you
beautiful.
got hold of that, then well done you.
There's a lovely selection of fabrics there.
Really beautiful. Today's kit, however, Jane, is very simple, isn't it?
It is very straightforward.
Very straightforward.
You've got a metre of our white plain, and then for the binding there's a ½ metre piece of, this is Toscana, and I can't think of the colour, is it?
Cornflower.
Cornflower,
Yeah.
that's it. It's a lovely blue, but it's got like a mottledy finish, so it just gives you a little bit of depth to
It
the...
does, it's beautiful. And it's what you finished your
Yes,
quilt in, isn't
it's
it?
the same as mine.
Now,
So
just to be completely controversial, Jane,
Mm-hmm.
because the background on some of the blocks is white, isn't it? But
Yes.
your sashing and your borders and what have you, this is all, you've done it all in white.
yes,
If somebody wanted to go completely rogue and do it in navy or black or,
Yeah.
or whatever else, they can buy today's kit and just pop in the notes to say, please change my
Yes.
metre of white for...
if you're not a white fan and you'd rather have ivory or cream, or if you'd like to go dark, I mean, it would
Yeah.
look rather stunning on a black background, wouldn't it?
Yeah, look great.
It would really make the blocks pop. So
It would.
you can use whatever colour.
Yes.
It's a metre, so it's 2 units
Yeah.
of fabric. So
So that would still then maintain the same binding fabric.
Yes.
If you were to order today's kit, pop a note on to say, change my white for whichever colour you'd like. The alternative as well, of course, is if you see and you think, yeah, there's a metre of something else I want, and there's a ½ metre of a completely different fabric for the binding, and you pop them in your basket and say, does Jane think this will look all right? Does Gemma think this will look all right? Does Natasha? We can have a look.
we like to look.
We can
do.
have a look and we can let you know if we think that is going to work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our favourite things to do.
I think it's fair. I think it's good.
It
So a
is.
very, very simple kit today, not at all expensive. It means then you've got your fabric budget released by
Yes.
your wadding. Jane, I'm trying to remember whether... I know how much wadding is needed for this.
I think if you are
Let's have a
having
look.
wadding, if it's more than
Yeah.
60 wide, you'd need 1.5 meters.
It says minimum 54 by 68.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most wadding is about 90, if not wider,
Yeah.
isn't it? Wide.
So
So
1.5 meters.
1.5 meters would
more,
be
yeah.
plenty. Yeah.
With spare bits for small projects.
Yes, cushion covers and things like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we've still got some of the kits, haven't we, left
We
for the
have.
for the blocks. If you're joining us for the first time and you're thinking, what's she talking about? What's this calendar quilt?
It really is a kind of last chance now, though.
Yeah,
because
there's
we
not
are-
many of some
yeah.
of them. Some of them we've got quite a lot of, others we're limited stock on.
Yeah, you can have a little look at your blocks, Jane, because this has been a month-on-month make,
Yeah.
block by block.
Yeah. So these ones are the individual blocks. So we use these for the perpetual type calendar. You could use them for cushion covers, bag fronts. You could make a whole quilt with all the blocks. I think there's several ladies that have used the November block and are making a whole quilt with it, which is rather lovely. Frosty Flakes for January. And on the instructions for each block, you get how to make the little hanging sleeve that I've done on the back that goes through. You could put a dowel through there, or if you've got one of the hangers, you could put that through. We've got January's block, which is ribbon weaving and reverse applique. Each month I've tried to do a different style of applique of form. So you've got a little taster of techniques to have a go at, because sometimes you'll see something and you'll think, oh, that looks lovely, but actually when it gets down to it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, one block's enough, thank you. This one is English paper piecing, but it's done on the Ashmead pre-cut shapes.
Forms, yeah.
So you don't have to take those out. They stay in and they give it a little bit of a wadded feel to it, which is rather lovely. So February's Valentine's Heart. We've then got March Winds, and we talked a little bit about free motion quilting, embroidery rather, to get the effect on the face of the cloud. You've got patchwork in here and bonded applique. Then we've got April Showers. So again, we did a little bit of padded applique there. So the cloud's got a little bit of wadding in it. And then we've done biased cutting of our fabric to just create the rainbow. Then we've got May Flowers, and this is based on the traditional Baltimore style blocks, which are traditionally done by hand, needle turned. But I showed you how to make it look like it's needle turned, but on a machine.
So clever, Jane. I loved that.
And I've done a little bit of hand quilting in that middle bit there, but you could do that on the machine as well. So that's May Flowers. Then we've got June, which is a summer garden with the big butterfly and the daisies. I think this is buddleia, but other people thought it might be lilac or other flowers. So,
Insert flower of choice.
And I've seen a couple of ladies, they've shown me the blocks that they've done and they've added even more flowers, which is lovely. And the thing with this is it's an idea for you. So you can go on and add things or take things away, put different colours on. You can embellish with beads and buttons. It's... you can put your own signature on it. And then we've got July, which always reminds me of summer fates. So we've got the cake table with the strawberries and cream and the scones and the lovely Victoria sponge and some cookies. So we did bonded applique, free motion embroidery, and a little bit of hand stitching, making the daisies at the bottom there by the table. August, summer holidays, so we did the sandcastle. Again, bonded applique, free motion embroidery. And it's a beautiful, simple block, that one. Then we went to September, autumn leaves. This is patchwork, little bit of foundation paper piecing here, but I also gave you the template, showed you how to make templates from your foundation paper. So you could do it by tracing the templates onto fabric and piecing it. And there's a little bit of bias going on in there. Then we've got the padded applique again for the pumpkins.
Adorable.
The Harvest Moon and the pumpkin patch. That's October. And then November, foundation paper piecing. It's a little bit of sparkly fabric within the kit, so you've got a little bit of sparkle there, so that's like fireworks, Catherine wheel.
This sold out. We had to source.
More.
With great difficulty, we had to source more fabric to fulfill this. This was, I mean, there were people buying 6 kits. One can only assume you wanted to make quilts. There were just this one.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful demo, brilliantly executed. It really was great. So if it is something you've always wanted to try, a bit of the foundation paper piecing, that was the one that everyone seemed to go, yeah, okay, that's
And
it.
then
Light bulb on, I'm going to have a go.
December's block's here.
Yes. Now, Jane, with this particular block, we, again, had unprecedented popularity with it.
Yeah.
Our supplier was due to send us, it's been on order for months, some more of the green batik, which is for the holly leaves.
This colour here.
Now, that's got held up on a boat somewhere in the middle of the sea, can't get through a port. So we have now spoken to them again. It will be with us, they believe, in January. Appreciating that that is next year and after Christmas, we have come up with an alternative. So if you are waiting for your December block, everyone's been emailed to say that if you haven't had it, because some of you got the batik.
Yes.
Those that ordered quickest, we got those out to you. Those who are in the waiting pile, you were offered to have a linen effect fabric.
Yes.
Like a textured looking fabric, just in the print, and it works beautifully.
It does. It's a nice alternative. Yeah, it's a beautiful colour.
Or you can wait till January. So if you're thinking, hang on a minute, I haven't had my blog, just check your spam. You've probably had an email from us, or pop us an email at info@natashamakes.com, and we'll pick that up. We'll pop it onto your order. If you're ordering today for that kit, if you haven't ordered already, then just let us know in the notes whether you'd like to wait for the batik or whether you're happy for us to send it now with the substitute fabric.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone to be disappointed, and we think we've got everything covered with that.
And December's block is a combination, really, of all the styles of applique that we've used, apart from the ribbon weaving. You've got bonded applique, you've got like the needle turn, but it's done on machine, and then you've got a little bit of padded applique here for the berries. So there's a whole, again, it's based on the Baltimore style blocks, but that's December's. So I thought winter wreath rather than a Christmassy design, because if you're having it out at the beginning of December, you don't necessarily want it just to depict Christmas. And there are people that don't celebrate Christmas at all, so a nice wintry wreath is there for everybody to have and enjoy.
Oh, Colette says, morning lovelies, I'm looking forward to seeing this as I want to do the quilt as you go if possible.
Right. We have instructions
about this. Yeah.
We can talk through. I haven't got any demonstration for quilt as you go, but we can talk through the process, and we do have instructions for quilt as you go, so you can purchase those. And I have demonstrated it when we did our very first block of the month, which was the sampler quilt, right back at the beginning. When Natasha first started.
Yeah.
At the end of that quilt, we did about the quilt as you go. So that's 2020 time.
Amazing. Such a long time ago,
A long time ago.
Feels
like forever ago.
See if I can find that out for you. I will have a little browse. We also have Leslie Reynolds saying that she's got all her blocks ready to go.
Wonderful.
Very excited about today's demo.
Lovely.
I'd love to hear that.
That's really good
amazing
news.
That she's cracked on and got those done. That's brilliant.
That's lovely.
So yes, Jane,
let's
have a look.
So you'll get your blocks, and some of them will be slightly bigger. I started to say to people to cut their background slightly bigger than the finished size, because I'm aware of when you do machine embroidery and things like that, sometimes it can pull in or distort your fabric slightly. So I thought, let's make them slightly bigger and then we can trim them down. So your actual block itself needs to be trimmed down to 12.5 square. That's quite straightforward to do, just lining it up on your mat. Sometimes you might not even have to trim it down at all, or it might just need a little bit straightening or something like that. Then the borders here, we've cut them at 1 inch width. Now this is the fabric that was put in your kit for your binding. You had a long quarter generally for that, and you should have been able to get the binding for the perpetual calendar, and you should be able to get the border fabric
and
too.
this is in each individual month's kit, not the finishing kit.
No. The finishing kit is just the sashing, borders and the binding. So each kit, once you've cut your actual block to 12.5, you need to cut 2 strips that are 1 inch wide by 12.5 inch long, and 2 strips that are 13.5 inches long. And I put the 12.5 inch on top and bottom, and then I put the 13 up, press those away, and then I put the 13 on each side. So it frames each block before you then start to add your sashing. My sashing I've cut at 2.5 inches. You will need to have 6 pieces that are 13.5 inches long. They're the same size as your finished blocks now.
All your measurements are in your
All the
instructions.
measurements are in the instructions. Yeah. You're going to lay your blocks out in the order that you want to have them. Obviously, I put mine January to December. You might have made different blocks and you might have them in a different style, or you might want them in a different order. It's your quilt, you can do with it as you wish. This is the July block, which is the 3rd row down. So I will have July, August and September in my row here. On July and August, just on the 2 blocks, I'm going to put a sashing strip on the right hand side of each block, like so. So straight line down, just attaching that strip.
There we go. Jane, if I can get you to just adjust, there we go.
I need to bring the machine
we've
this
had
way a bit.
The machine's moved because Natasha's been on Create and Craft at the weekend, those of you who saw her. So we bring the machine back in again and it's a bit of a, oh, hang on, wiggly jiggle to work out exactly where to put it. That's perfect, Jane. Thank you. As far as the Quilt As You Go demonstration goes, I have tagged the instructions for Quilt As You Go. I've popped it into today's collection, so if you give that a little refresh, then you'll see it's up with the other instructions. Jane demonstrated Quilt As You Go as a technique on June the 10th, 2020. So there should be, over on Catch Up, on YouTube, wherever else, you should find a Quilt As You Go demonstration.
Yeah. Now, if you were doing Quilt As You Go, you'd get to this stage, you'd cut a piece of backing fabric that was on, for this block itself, a good 3 inches wider, because you're going to have to get your sashing strip on there, your actual finished border. So the ones that are on the left-hand side of your row, if you like, I'd give it a good 4 inches actually of wadding and backing. Good 2 inches everywhere else, just for manoeuvrability. And you would mount that onto your backing and wadding like you were making a quilt, and you would quilt it as you wished to have it done. Quilt to there. Don't do anything in this bit here, okay? And you would do that with all your blocks. You can do it in row. You could join all your strips together in rows and then layer it up. But just make sure that you've got enough, because you're going to have the same width as your sashing border all the way around your quilt. So just make sure on this side you've got enough backing and wadding to then put the borders on. So you've got that one done. You'll have done all of these. So basically you will have done January, February, April's and May's, July and August, October's and November's with a sashing strip on one side, if you are doing them in chronological order, as it were.
Yeah.
Then with what would be August's block for this row, I then attach September's to the opposite side of that piece of sashing.
Okay.
And then I will attach this one onto there. I wouldn't necessarily attach that onto there and then that onto there. That just might distort them slightly. So I would do it in pairs and then add the third one on.
Okay.
And of course you can pin this, you know, if you prefer to pin, then you can pin it, it's fine. So you will end up with 4 rows that look like so. You've got the blocks either side with no sashing on, and then you've got your 2 strips of sashing in the middle, and that's your row. So you'll have 4 rows like that. And then you will add a strip of sashing to the bottom of your row. Okay. So all 4 rows, you're going to put a strip of sashing on the bottom of the row. And again, this is just straight line sewing.
We love a bit of straight line sewing.
And if you're, if you prefer to pin, then do pin it. I have pressed my sashing strips in the middle towards the sashing, both sides, just because I find it easier to have the seams facing in. It doesn't make any difference to the end result of your quilt. If you prefer to have them facing towards your block, then you certainly can do that.
That's good to know, Jane.
You will get sometimes you'll get the shadow of the seam underneath, so if you have got a little bit of the colour showing, just trim that back a little bit just so that it doesn't show through the white. And you would press that away from your row so that it all sits nicely like so. So you'll have all of your rows, so you'll have January, February, March, April, May, June, all of them in a row with your sashing strip at the bottom.
Okay.
So then you would add 2, so you would add January to March and you would add April's to June's together in pairs. So you're going to attach the top of that strip to the bottom of this. So you've got your sashing strip in between. Now visually, you want to be sure that these rows are lined up.
Jane, that's so important. So it's not about checking your edges so
No,
much, is it?
don't worry overly about your edges.
Oh, I'll be completely honest, I'd have done that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And in theory,
Yes.
your blocks should be all the same, and it should be that you can line them up and it should sew together.
Theory's a
But you
wonderful
would
thing, Jane.
be a really little bit annoyed if it was just skew, just a little bit.
I'd be a proper sweary Mary, Jane, if I did that.
It happens, it happens. So take your ruler, and I was supposed to bring a fabric marker in with me.
That's all right.
Probably not.
That's all right. What have we got? What can we use in its place?
We can just use a marker. There's a
Got pencil.
pencil here, that will show.
Is
That's
it?
fine. So take your ruler and line it up with the edge of your sashing here, where that seam is. And just place a little mark in what will be the seam allowance of your border there. And do the same on this side. Just a little mark in the seam allowance. So if you are using a pencil, you're not going to see it. And do that on both sets of sashing. Just lining it up. You could make sure one of your horizontal lines is on the seam there as well, just to make sure that it is square against there. Mark there. And a mark here.
Jane, Susan's saying, would it look okay with the blue fabric as your sashing and the darker colour for binding? I'm going to interject with that one, Susan. You're getting 1/2 metre of this, and you need 1 metre for your sashing. But also, let's have a quick peep, because you've got different blues here and here. It really depends, doesn't it, on how you feel about your colours together.
It's a personal preference, isn't it, at the end of the day? And if you like that, then you certainly do.
We have sort of more grey tones and grey things like misty blue maybe might work quite well, because a grey tone's relatively safe normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you are a blue fan, but we can always have a look. We can pop some pictures across to you if there's a particular colour you want to have a look at. That wouldn't
I
be too much of an
personally
issue.
think if you're going to do a blue, you want to do a very pale blue,
Yeah.
a pale grey.
Chambray maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or
Yeah.
chambray plain.
Something that's not going to distract from your blocks, which is why I choose white.
Yeah.
You want a neutral tone, if you like,
Yeah.
one that's not going to stand out. Now, me saying well, black would look rather nice sort of contradicts that, but black again in itself
It's neutral.
goes behind
Yeah.
and makes the colours pop
Yeah,
up.
because they come forward.
So,
then.
yeah, I'm not saying don't use that, but I personally don't think it's going to make your blocks stand out. I think your blocks will be distracted by your sashing if you
Yeah.
use that blue. But if you used a pale blue, because we've got a very light blue that might work in our planes.
Yeah. But you can pop a pale blue in,
Yeah.
a metre of, because she's saying she quite like a darker colour for the binding. That's a great idea. So if you want to pop a pale blue into your order and a dark colour, you'd need a metre of whatever you want your background to be, half a metre of whatever you want your binding to be, then we can take a look at it. And if we think that there's one that's slightly better, we can swap that out for you.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
pop a note on your order to tell us what you are doing.
So we've made the marks. So I'm just going to reach across you and grab the pin cushion.
Of course.
We've made the marks within our sashing, where our sashing strip at the vertical sashing strip sits, and then the horizontal strip just within the seam allowance. Just made marks where they come down. And what we'll do, and I'm going to turn this round so it's upside down, because we're going to join the rows together, and to make sure that the vertical sashing is all lined up, so for your eye to look at and see it, it'll look like it's straight. You then line up what would be your seam allowance here, the line of stitch, with that mark that you have just made in your sashing, and pin those two areas just along the seam line, like so.
Yeah.
And you do the same with the other set. And hopefully, fingers crossed and everything else, it all lines up then. You might find that your block might feel like it's a little bit baggy in the middle. If
Okay.
that is the case, just put that side at the bottom where your feed dogs go, because your feed dogs will help to just feed that in, and they sort of pull it up just a little bit when
They
you're
take
sewing
up the
it.
slack, don't they?
Yeah, somehow.
Amazing.
It's a little bit magic as
It's one
far
of
as
the
I'm
favourite things
concerned.
you've taught me, Jane. There's many magical things you've taught me, but that's one of my favourites because it makes such a difference.
It does. It does.
Anne Albon says, "Morning, ladies. I can't believe how quickly this year has flown by. I'm going to have to sit on the naughty step as I've not yet finished all the blocks. But
I
no
don't
one
think you're
knows."
the only person.
No. She said, but no one knows which year they're for. Never a truer word spoken, Anne.
Well, this is it. I think, the calendar quilt is a bit like Christmas quilts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to tell you
Nope.
which year it's for.
Of course not. Of course not. And it's about the process as well. This whole project is about taking your time, enjoying the process, learning new techniques,
Yeah.
and the making of it. It's not just about having the finished article.
Yeah, having it done as quickly as
No.
possible.
Absolutely not.
We just sew that then as we would have done the sashing strip before. So just joining those two layers together.
Iona's on YouTube. She says, "Morning, Jane and Gemma. I wanted to order the string cord bag and face pad yesterday, but they sold out. I managed to get the pattern. What fabric do I order to make them?" Iona, I'm pretty sure you're meaning the face wipes in the drawstring bag, and that was our bamboo cotton toweling. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Super soft. And then you can use any of your fabric.
So a half metre of each would be enough,
I've
wouldn't
got a
it?
feeling it was a fat quarter of the toweling and a half metre of the plain when we put kits together. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
half metre of the designer fabric the one we put the kits together before. But if you get a half metre of your bamboo toweling and a bit of fabric that you like the look of, you're going to have plenty there to be playing with.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, when you get your pattern, it'll tell you exactly how much fabric you need, won't it?
Of course. Sue Langford said, I didn't buy the block of the month, but I love, love, love foundation paper piecing. Is the pattern for foundation block available on its own? Sue, every single block has had individual instructions for those individual months.
Yeah.
So if it is that specific month that you want to do, we've had two actually with a bit of FTP, haven't we?
Yeah,
The
September's
maple
got a little tiny bit
Yeah.
in.
So your maple leaf, which is September, had a bit along with some piecing, but the one that's completely FTP was the firework block, and we've got the digital instructions and the printed instructions available for that one.
And if you order the printed version, you'll get your 4 sheets of
Yes.
pattern piece for your foundation. So
You will, you will, you will.
because it's made
All
up
those
in
pins
quarters.
coming out now, Jane.
Yeah. Anybody else was probably screaming at the screen, going, "Take your pins out!"
Take your pins, take your pins.
Yeah. So you'll
Jane's
end
very
up.
clever with where she puts those pins. They are not going to get trapped anywhere.
You've
Ooh,
got
look.
2 pieces then that will look similar to this. You've got your January to June block and then your July to December block. So you've got no sashing at the top here. You've got sashing there and you've got sashing at the bottom. And what you'll do then with your January to June block, you'll add a piece of sashing to the top of that. So you've got on those rows you'll have sashing at the top and the bottom. And then you'll join your 2 halves together. And again, you can line up your sashing by marking the points. There and there.
These blocks are so beautiful, Jane. I'm sorry, I'm admiring and knocking your project
It's
off.
okay.
That's so rude of me.
It's fine.
Can't leave it alone, people.
So just a little
Beautiful
mark
thing.
in the sashing, in what will be the seam allowance. So it's not going to show, so you can use pencil. It's just a little mark so that you can line up your vertical sashing with your horizontal and be sure that everything is lined up together. And again, we'll just line the seam allowance, where the seam allowance has got the line of stitch there, and I'm lining that up with that little mark that I've made in my sashing. And then just pop in a pin each end just to hold the layers together while I take them to the machine.
Beautiful.
You can put more pins in if you want to hold the layers together, because it does get quite heavy now that you've got all of these blocks together. That pin's decided it's not very sharp, so it's not going to go through the fabric.
Oh, that's rude, isn't it?
It's just...
Have to go in the sacrificial pin pile. There's always a job, isn't there, that it can
There's
do.
always something that it could do. Blood pins for something. And there we go on that one. Now I haven't trimmed, I made my stashing maybe a little bit long on that one, and I should have trimmed it off before I started, but I haven't, so
That's
it doesn't
okay.
matter. It's not the end of the world.
Nope, it's good to see what happens when these things occur, Jane.
Our plain fabric is 44 inches wide. Not all plain fabrics are, so I was able to get the sashing strip that goes between the blocks from one width of fabric. So just, if you're not using our plains, just check the width of your fabric before you start. You might need to cut an extra strip just to add on, to join it, to make it fit. So don't think you've done something wrong if you get to do the cutting and you're like, hang on, this isn't going to be wide enough.
Something is amiss.
These planes are 44 wide, so.
Okay.
Oops.
It's always very reassuring to hear these things, Jane.
Some are a little bit wider, of course, sometimes. Using dressmaking fabrics, they can be 60 wide, can't they?
Of course, yeah. I do love how you tell us, hang on a minute, this could happen. Don't panic. Because otherwise, I am that panicker. I am that person.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? You follow a pattern,
Yeah.
and we're terrible as designers for assuming that you're using the same fabric as we've used.
And some of our viewers are international viewers and they can't buy their kits from us, Jane.
No,
You know,
they
it's-
can only get the pattern. So, yeah, you might be using slightly different fabric.
Yeah, much lamented. I know we get a lot of messages saying, I wish I could get the fabrics, but I'm so pleased I can get the patterns and I'm making it with my own fabrics and what can I do? And we will always help you where we can. On a horse now, Jane.
Yeah.
It's a Monday morning thing if ever I heard it.
So there we go. That is essentially the quilt top. We just got to put the sides on. And
Amazing.
I'll just talk to you about how, because I quite often I'll say join the strips with a 45-degree seam, and I do sometimes wonder whether people quite understand what
Yeah, it's
I
true.
mean about that. So we've got the full quilt joined together with all the vertical sashing in between, and all we're going to do now is we're going to put a row of the same width border either side, and we'll sew that, and it'll come from that edge there all the way up to the top edge here,
Yeah.
which obviously is longer than the width of fabric. Now, I do know people that like to get the amount of fabric that they need and cut it along the length, but I do think that can be a bit wasteful.
Okay.
So, joining your strips, and the reason I use a 45-degree seam is that your eye looks for straight lines.
Yeah.
And if you use a straight line seam, you're going to notice that in a border
Okay.
more or less straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use a 45-degree seam, then it's less noticeable. You'll still see it, but your eye doesn't fixate on it.
No, that's conspicuous.
Now, if you hadn't got enough fabric and you've got to do a straight seam because you've not got enough, line up one of your seams with the edge where you've got a straight edge on the side. So if I had done a straight seam on this, I'd line that straight seam up with this seam here, and again it would be less noticeable because it looks like it's a continuation of the line. Because sometimes you haven't got enough fabric to give you that 45 degree. You have with this, because you've got plenty of fabric to do your sashing and borders. So to join with a 45-degree seam, and this is how the same seam I use when I'm joining my binding, you'll have right side facing up horizontally, right side facing down vertically, and you place the vertical strip in the corner of the horizontal strip so that that corner sits there, and these are essentially right sides together. You have a 45-degree line on your ruler. Place that along, just let me think about this because I have to make sure it's going okay, along the bottom of your strip.
Yeah.
That's my 45-degree line there. In the corner, so that it goes from the bottom right to the top left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll just draw a line from there, corner to corner.
It's very satisfying, this.
like so.
I love making binding, Jane.
Yes.
One of my favourite things to do. I know.
And we're going to sew those together, and we're going to sew along the mark line.
Marvellous.
Let's just move slightly. You might want to pin it before you take it to the machine and then it doesn't move. So you've sewn along that diagonal line. You'll then trim that corner off, 1/4 inch away from that sewn line. So you're trimming this corner off. Don't go on the wrong side, because if you trim down there, you're just going to cut your strips apart.
So then you'll be very cross.
Then you'll be very sad.
Yeah.
So
Miffed.
yes. Lining the 1/4 inch mark up on that sewn line and just trim that corner off. I can't get that, so close that up. So that's come away there. And then I would press this seam open. Don't very often press my seams open, but when I'm doing a diagonal line I do. I don't know why, I just do. It lies flatter, I think is the reason. So press that open. When I'm doing it for binding, obviously it reduces the bulk, because when you do it for binding, then you will turn those two strips up together and it dissipates the bulk of the seam there. Press that open and then measure your quilt top from the top to the bottom through the middle of the quilt. Okay. Don't do it on the edge, because for the best will in the world, you might not have sewn right to the end of the strip here.
No.
Or it might have come undone in the process and it might just stretch slightly.
Okay.
So when you measure it, you measure the bit that's the most stable, which is the middle of the quilt. So you measure from the top here, through the middle, right down to the bottom.
Okay.
And then you'll cut your width of strip, the length of your strip, to match that measurement. And then you'll pin it onto your quilt here, right sides together, so your seam is facing upwards. And then you'll just sew the edge along.
Beautiful. Jane, do you press that open, that seam?
Yes, that seam there is pressed open. I just feel that it sits flatter if you press it open. And you have to remember that it's the quilt top, so you want the minimum bulk when you come in then to quilt it. So when it's pressed open, it quilts nicer, because I just quilted in the ditch here on mine. Yeah,
and as well as looks, because you know, you do prefer a plain in these sash and bordered areas.
Yes.
Again, when you're piecing, you're not going to see that join as much on a plain, are you? As you would if it was a pattern fabric.
Yes, because sometimes the pattern doesn't match. But and sometimes if it's a really busy pattern, it actually doesn't matter, because it hides it. Whereas if it was straight, you're more likely to see it.
A tiny polka dot or something, or a squiggle.
So you put those either side, and then you can quilt, enhance, add more quilting, whatever. We've talked a little bit about the quilting when we did each block, so you can go back and do similar quilting to that, or just quilt around your shapes. Just quilt around the edge of each block and around the edge of the sashing here. Now I've carried my line through, so I've got a little quilted square in the middle. You don't have to do that, you can just go around each square.
You could have a bit of fun in those squares as well, put a little bit of detail in.
You could do a wiggly line or a little floor, anything. You know, you can do more or less quilting however you feel, but the basic you need to do really is to go around your shape in your borders either side, and then around the sashing here, and then you'll get your binding on. And
then that just gives it loads of stability, doesn't it? Yeah.
And we've done tutorials as well, haven't we, about binding previously? So I think there's lots of tutorials out there about the binding and how that's joined together.
Yeah. And you'll piece your binding strips together in the
same way as we've just done these.
Yeah, absolutely.
So easily done.
Brilliant. Jane, that's fabulous.
And I can't believe it's 12 months since we started.
I know. It doesn't seem like it, does it? And
doesn't.
It's flown by.
It's gone really quickly,
It really has. We can't wait to see your makes. So if you have got blocks made and you're going to get this quilt together, then please do share them. We have our Community Makes page on the website. If you want to be able to pop them on our website, you can do that. Just bear in mind that when you upload images there of your makes, they go into like a holding position, so they won't show immediately. And that's just because there are certain people out there who would post things that perhaps not everyone would like to see.
No.
Or that would be the most
Or
relevant.
appropriate.
So they have to be moderated by our lovely SJ. She's on honeymoon at the moment.
Yes.
So they'll sit there for a little while before she can moderate them. But then once they are on the Community Makes page, they will be visible to everybody. So again, we do always mention this. Don't put them there if you don't want the world to see. But if you want to share, we love that.
Yes.
If you'd like to just show us, send us an email. Tell Jane how much you've loved the project and show her what you've done. You can email us pictures at info@natashamakes.com. And of course, you can share photos on Facebook if you want people on your Facebook to see. And if you tag us at Natasha Makes, then hopefully we should be able to see them as well.
And I love seeing what you've made, and I love seeing how you've adapted it and made it a little bit different, because I think that just brings out your own touch to it, and that's lovely. And I'm just really pleased when somebody says, well, I've just added this to it and I put this on instead, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Like to see the personal touches, don't we?
I like you to add your own little touch to it. It's nice.
We've seen people put hand embroidery on, or some beading, or all sorts of things, and it's lovely, lovely to see.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
And those of you that are into your free motion quilting, seeing what you've done with your available spaces and how much you've enjoyed that, we love to see that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think one of my favourite ones more recently was the seagull wall hanging, and we'd had a customer who'd had a bit of an extra
yes, she'd done cartoon bubbles and all sorts. It was lovely.
It was fun.
I loved seeing that.
And it just makes our day. It really, really does. Jane, we have Iona saying that she's never made a quilt before, but you make it look so easy.
Oh, thank you,
I think she's
Iona.
gonna give it a go.
I just hope
hope
that you
so.
feel inspired to have a go now.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, our calendar blocks. If you've got blocks that you've made previously and you think, well, I wanted to make those into a quilt, but I don't know how to do that, the process is the same.
Yeah. Claire says, I made Jane's Fibonacci-inspired quilt last week. It's the best quilt I've made. I love it.
Oh, super.
See?
That's nice. Thank you.
I see. This is the thing. If we don't hear, we don't know.
Yes,
So
it's
good
lovely to hear. It's really nice.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us. Natasha will be back with you tomorrow and Wednesday. I will be no makeup on in my daytime pyjamas over there, a pair of leggings that are pretty, pretending I'm glamorous, but I'm not really. I'm sat in the corner.
She looks glamorous when she's not got any makeup on. She's amazing.
Behave. And yes, we will see you then. So do make the most of the wadding deal. That's a Black Friday mega deal. It's on today. Grab it while you can, I say.
Yes.
I've put delayed dispatch on it because we have some stock here, but obviously if that sells out, then you may have a little wait while the next roll arrives. It's from a supplier who are really good, so they're are generally pretty quick.
If they've got it in stock, it comes quite quickly.
Yes, but those of you who are ordering early doors, you may just find that goes out as normal anyway, so I don't think it's going to be
We're still a little bit behind
We
with our packing and posting.
We are.
We're catching up.
Yeah.
We're very grateful for your patience. We're getting there.
Yes, I'm the speediest.
You've been
packer in the West,
amazing, I
though.
have to say. I haven't had many emails that have said, where's my order? And I understand when you do say, where is my order? Because I do know that we are more behind than we would be normally. Usually we get orders out within 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
We're on about 3 or 4 at the moment, maybe a bit longer with some things, because we
Depends
still
on the
can't
stock.
find everything.
Yes. Some of you may have a voicemail or an email if you are wondering, and you know some of the stuff's come through that's newer than perhaps an item. I've emailed people, and some of you have emailed back, which is fabulous. I'm so happy when that happens. It might be that your email's going to your spam, so do have a little look there before you email, just to see.
Yes.
Have you had an email from us? Because that.
And
can
you
happen
might
too.
look, when you look on your order, you might see it says partially fulfilled.
Yes.
And this is because we're still waiting for stock for some things. We've run out of it and we've reordered it and we're waiting for the stock. So we've sent you what we can because we know you've been waiting a long time, and then we will send what's left over. So don't think we've missed things out. But at the same time, if you feel that something's missing from your order, do get in touch, because I can say, we're just waiting for
Becky
it. Oh
says
gosh, sorry, I forgot to put
Bless
that in,
her.
I'll send it.
Becky says it will get here when it gets here, never worry.
Yes.
Bless you. We do, though, because we're crafters and we like to get our stuff as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
But Jane and I are working really, really hard on this.
We're trying our best.
Yeah,
we
Jane's
are.
cutting like a crazy woman and I pack really fast. We're also implementing a new system because we have had issues with the post office. I think you all know. I'm never going to be one to knock the post office. Never. I absolutely adore them. My dad was in Royal Mail for years and years and years. So it's in my blood. However, the post that we are producing, our post office aren't always happy to process it because there's quite a lot. So we have today got a call with our new courier company who are going to be providing our service. So we've got new things to learn, but it does mean that hopefully there'll be a more trackable, traceable system and it will be coming out to you more smoothly.
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And I say all of this, and yet we get emails saying, I'm really happy
Yes.
with how quickly my stuff's coming through.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Why do you worry? But
Yeah.
we do, because we're not Amazon. We are a small business. There are a handful of us here, and we operate.
And we like to come across as
Yeah.
professional, and we get frustrated in ourselves when the service we feel that you should have isn't being
Yeah.
given. And so it's quite frustrating sometimes.
Yes.
But we're doing our best and we're trying to get everything out as quickly as we can.
But we're not an Amazon warehouse.
No.
So we can't do same day,
And at the
next day,
moment,
et cetera, et
we're
cetera.
struggling sometimes to find
Yeah,
stuff. So
I
yeah,
know.
we're
Which
getting
is
there.
getting better.
It is.
Getting better.
We're getting better every
We're
day.
so organised in
Yes.
these new premises, but it's just certain things that you're like, there's obviously a box missing.
Yes.
Because it's got the few things I'm looking for. They must all be in that same box.
Yes, yeah.
It'll come together.
It'll come together.
Oh.
We'll get there.
Sue says, I don't mind waiting, and Holly loves the postman more than me.
Oh.
I love that. It has been lovely to have you with us. Do get making, do get enjoying those 2 metre pre-cuts. I don't think we'll be getting any more. I don't think they've got any more.
No.
I'll have to ask Tash when she's back. But yeah, I'm not sure. And the wadding, that is a limited time offer. So you always need wadding in your stash.
You
and
do.
if you're making your quilts,
There's
£2
nothing
a
worse than
metre.
finishing a quilt top and then finding you haven't got enough wadding.
£2 a metre off your wadding is going to make a huge difference to the cost of your project. So
Yeah.
do make the most of that, enjoy it. And I'll speak to you tomorrow off camera. Natasha will be here on your camera. You do take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.